hilarious Vampire Slayer movie, Hawk and Rev Vampire Slayers. What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm actually doing really well. Thank you so much for having me, guys. I really appreciate it. I this is my favorite thing to do other than shoot and, get covered in blood on sets and make inappropriate jokes. So I love to talk about horror and comedy all day long. So this is like a joy for me, actually. How are you guys?
Oh, we're great. Some of us are a little on the injured bug, but we're here because we
Yeah.
wanted to talk about this movie, and our faces hurt from laughing about all these one-liners, like non-stop one-liners. And I got a few questions I'm going to ask, and then I'll pass it on over to the next host here. But first, like I said, thank you so much for hanging out with us on Where the Scary Things Are. We're big fans of the movie. We really are going to push this movie for everybody to watch it. It's going to be in like an instant cult classic, I think. So I understand that, you're the writer, you're the director, you're the producer, and you're the lead. So where did this come from, man? Like that's a lot of hats to wear.
Oh man. So look, I did a lot of improv, right, in the
Mm.
LA indie comedy scene. So when you get trained doing that stuff, I started out as a very pretentious actor, okay, and did visual art, and then I wrote plays, and then I was you're trying to be a serious director, and then I had kids, and life slapped me in the face a bit, and I started to realize what I really like. I really missed laughing, and I missed movies like the ones I made in the 80s, and just wanted to make comedies. So I started studying a lot of improv at Groundlings and Upright Citizens Brigade, and just met this whole crew of people. And it's just a completely different mindset where you're just everything is just kind of trying it out, really. So
Mm.
you're always just sort of improvising, even though this script is, it's probably 90% word perfect in the final cut, but um, it just took on a different attitude for me. And I sort of tried it out on this earlier film, Elijah's Ashes, where Ari and I kind of played the co-leads in that, and directed, and had, multiple cameras, and just really storyboarded the heck out of it, and trusted my amazing DP Sean Ayers, and production designer Audrey Haworth, and art director David Rickabaugh. And I trust all the actors I work with, because they're all trained improvisers, and are, don't care what they look like, they don't care what their makeup looks like, they're just like in the story and in the joke. So it just frees you up to really play, man. And then I keep writing characters that just kind of sound like me, and so I figured, who better to do it, man? you know I'm going to show up
How
for the
how
reshoot, I know that.
well, when you're the director and the
Yeah.
writer and the lead, how do you direct yourself? Do you know what I mean? Like, is it just like, well, that was good, that was perfect, that was we're gonna go with that,
No,
but
no. so
maybe
so
it wasn't.
no, step one, you just assume they're all bad. So it's just less
Hmm.
shades of bad, right? You're like, oh God, that was terrible, let's try one more. You don't really know. I've never known what I was getting, even on movies. I like my first film, The Truth, my first feature. I had like name actors in there. I didn't act in it. It's one of the greatest regrets of my life, because the movie
Mm.
just took on this totally different tone, because I'm kind of a funny, gregarious guy, and the movie just got so serious. So what I really do, my process is I storyboard like crazy. So my DP knows exactly what I want to do, and then I just let that go. So that's one big thing I let go. And I do some read throughs with my cast, but I've performed with all of these people on stage before in improv. So we're totally comfortable just totally screwing around. Like most of the time we're having to cut everything out, because we're just, we'll do the line and then back up and just redo the line, and we can do that crying as well. Like we're just used to doing that kind of weird flexible work. So, and then, you've got to get in there and make it with the edit. You got to do the best job you can. We had two cameras, so that helps, because you're just
Hmm.
cross shooting. So as a director, you don't get really precious with the frame and stuff. You're like, no, we need to be able to move around. And I mean, we were on sticks for a lot of this because we were shooting cross coverage, but we also had like a slider and a gimbal and some pretty crazy stuff. And we were just like, we knew based on all the storyboards we were going to get something kind of cool, and we had quite a few choices. And all of the crew and the cast all knew to yell at me when I was doing a bad job, which is hilarious, especially when you're like trying to cry and it's supposed to be a funny cry. And people are like, boo, we don't believe that. That's terrible, dude. Do you want us to bring some Visine for you so you can pretend? It's a lot of fun.
Well, I mean, I watched the movie, and most of the time I live in New Jersey, and I work in the city in New York,
Yeah.
so I do the commute, and I watch a lot of my films on the bus because it's like an hour, you know. And I'm watching this on the bus, and I'm just rolling, laughing, and people are starting looking at me like it's just so funny because I'm thinking about this movie and like all the different influences that I'm getting from it, you know. And right now, one of the most popular things on you can stream is Cobra Kai, and I'm getting
Right.
a lot of Johnny from you, you know. It's like you're a badass, but you're on the older side, um, and it's just all the one-liners, man. Oh,
I
like
want to
one.
be like Johnny's idiot cousin,
Yeah,
like
you guys got to
not
meet
good
one
at
day in
stuff.
LA. Like you got to have a cameo in there. Like you're gonna try to buy a car from Ralph Macchio or something like that, and Johnny's there. I
Totally.
don't know. You got to do something like
Totally.
that. But the one-liners, man. One of my favorite ones was "Holy farts." I'm gonna be saying that from now on. Holy farts. I'm dying. So, did you? Who wrote these jokes, man? And these one-liners, they were
Oh
just so on
man.
point.
I mean, like what I wrote the script 100%, and it had been this really pretentious, very dramatic script. You've seen the movie, so instead of Hawk discovering vampires and the supernatural, this thing was about domestic terrorism, and it was like this really serious, horrible thing. And I just like, it takes so long to make a movie, even especially on a low budget. Like
Hmm.
you've got to really love the thing and really get some enjoyment out of working on it. So serious things are rough, man. Like they are not fun to work on.
Hmm.
I've quit a bunch of those. So, this thing, I wrote, and I just kind of was like, I'm just gonna like let my 80s influences run amok. And then it also incorporated a bunch of 90s stuff too. What I would do with a lot of those kind of one-liner things, especially like all those taglines, that one scene where Hawk's just yelling out 80s taglines at Rev just to see if he's ever seen a movie ever. I would write 10 or 15 alts of the line, and then when we were on set, I was just standing there, and the crew was like picking anything, like the I See Dead People. That was not written. AJ Gordon, our producer, was like, dude, do the Sixth Sense. I See Dead People, do that one. Or nobody's going to put baby in the corner. Like that was from our production designer. I didn't put that one in there, but I love all the like hardcore 80s action stuff and Goonies and all that kind of stuff. But then it just got silly, which is good because I was sort of directing as Hawk, so maybe it needed to lighten up a bit.
It was funny because I'm trying to pick all the movies, like Dirty Harry in there. You got
Oh yeah,
all these great one-liners, and
Predator,
Rev is just looking at
Cobra.
it's great. Well, listen, man, I'm gonna pass you on to Muse, but I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. I have the same personality, same type of humor, so I totally dug it. And I know there's a lot of people out there, and the world is all uptight right now, and
Yeah,
this movie kind of just you guys, the listeners, you guys got to watch this movie, and I'm going to leave it at that until I pass it on to Muse. But
thank you,
watch this movie
Ken. I
because if you want to
appreciate it.
laugh, no, man, serious, thank you. So, Muse, go ahead and take it away.
All right. So,
Hey,
I mean, you guys,
Muse.
hey, how's it going, Ryan? So I'm already going to apologize. I'm still a little high from the drugs they have me on. So,
Woo,
if,
yeah.
so I mean, if I ask like the same questions that Ken just asked, I'm so sorry. So hopefully I'm
No
not repeating
worries.
myself. So I was going to ask you, there are so many great moments in this film. And like I said, I loved it. I laughed throughout the whole thing. It was just, yeah, when you guys were talking about all the movie line references and stuff, I'm like, I caught every one of them, and it was great. But what was, I know there's probably a lot of scenes that were a lot of fun to film, because this just looked like a blast to do from beginning to end. What was the most fun scene to film for you guys, like out of every scene?
Like running around, climbing up all over the top of that warehouse on the roof and stuff was really precarious, but I loved it. Like I had so much fun.
The whole movie looked like a blast.
And shooting the gore at the end, like the big giant, kind of showdown at a midnight scene was, so I'll preface it by saying this. We shot a lot of that gore in 25-degree weather here in LA, which may as well be minus 100 for LA standards. And, I was just hyperactive and directing and also playing Hawk and running around. And so I was hot and steamy, and the blood was hot and steamy. And I had a great time shooting that stuff. I don't think the rest of our actors did. They were freezing their buns off, but that was super fun for me. Like really shooting gore is like the most fun thing, especially if you have great people to work with, just because it feels so corny while you're doing it, and it's hilarious. But then, like after one day of doing it, you can kind of slap some shots together and start to see it come to life. And then the next day you can kind of build on it more. And it's just so fun.
Well, I'll tell you what, I would have been all about the gore too. I'm a total fan of gore. I'm a gore hound, and I would have been all about getting all sloppy and crazy and all kinds
Hell
of stuff. So
yeah.
I'm right there with you. So what, kind of like on the flip side, what scene was the most challenging for you guys to film?
So real talk, that entire ending that's shot out on that road, that was a pickup shoot. Like we got a quarter of the way into shooting our original ending, which was similar, but was kind of set in this alley behind the warehouse. And we got shut down. We were shooting in this neighborhood in LA, and the folks got really sick of us making, whooping and hollering and stuff in the middle of the night, shooting a horror comedy. We were legally there, but they got pretty upset, so they started reporting random things to the police. And right in the middle, I think we're about 2 hours into our day, we got shut down on like day 13 or something, because we're actually trying to shoot this entire movie in 2 weeks, really, which was just totally insane. And we got shut down just before we could really get into our ending. There were a bunch of police officers that came in, guns a-blazing, pulled out because they thought somebody was being assaulted there, because some neighbors had reported that, to get us the hell out of there. And it worked, man. We were never allowed there again. So that was pretty challenging to kind of go home and go, whoa, we've got to figure out another plan B here. But the great thing about it is we got to work on the state of California location out in the canyons behind LA. And it was really spooky back there, which kind of added this whole other flavor. And we could get a little crazier with the blood shooting around, and just gave it this, I don't know, this weird, Fright Night thing or something. I just felt spookier. So it was very, very torturous at the time. And I could not believe it had happened to us. And then now in retrospect, I think it was probably the biggest blessing, and then also cutting all of the great jokes, because the thing was just running too long. Like all those darlings on the cutting room floor, man, that just killed me. But you got to do it.
Man.
You got to do it.
I understand, like I said, but I want that director's cut, because I want to see those things you cut, because the movie, just to know what was it, I got to know, because the movie was so hilarious, and I can't even imagine all the stuff that you had to leave out that would have been just so absolutely awesome to see. So and you talk about the cops coming. All I see is like the cop in the movie coming and say, "I'm coming for you guys." Just like the whole time, like I can just
said,
see
I'm
this.
coming for you guys.
Yes, it's over now. Your guys are going down this time. Okay. But I'm gonna ask you kind of a fun question just because I saw what some of your favorite movies were when I was checking you out there on the interwebs.
Yeah.
And I gotta ask you, okay, so you're a fan of Evil Dead 2 and Big Trouble in Little China.
Yeah.
I
big
gotta
fan.
ask you, who wins in a fight with Jack Burton versus Ash? Who wins that
Oh,
fight?
Jack Burton, hands down, man.
Okay.
That was probably the best question you've ever asked in your life, Muse.
No, I was like,
No,
Ken's gonna
Jack
chime in.
Burton's just dumb and blustery enough to kind of accidentally win. You know what I mean?
Right. I was like, I didn't know. I was like, man, this is a toss up. Like, I was
Oh.
surprised you answered it so fast because I was like, man, I don't know.
Oh, I love that movie so much. I love Kurt Russell's is the best damn thing. You know, Escape from New York. Woo, woo.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, so good for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
So one last question I have to ask in the credits. I don't know if you guys talked about this because, like I said, I'm a little zoned out. But the GIMP scene there, where everybody's wearing. I don't want to. It's probably a spoiler and a half, but I hope it's not a spoiler.
So many people played the GIMP.
I know. I'm like,
so
what inspired
many.
that whole scene?
Oh,
Like
my.
everybody was the GIMP. I call that everybody's the GIMP scene.
Well,
how many people have worn this mask?
Oh my God. There are some wide shots of the SUV where, no joke, like a $29 blow up doll from Amazon is playing the GIMP between real live actors. And like, if you can find it in the movie, like tweet it, like
I'm
it.
finding it. I want to tweet it so bad. You guys, when you had the cinematographer,
I'm in the GIMP sometimes, I definitely storyboarded and cut like the coverage up. So even Sean Ayers, our DP, could be the GIMP, and I was running camera one time. Like Audrey, the production designer, who's like a very feminine woman, is the GIMP. Ari was the GIMP, It was so great.
Because I always stop right at the credits, and I'm like, you know what? I have a feeling I might want to let this roll for a second because I had a feeling there would be stuff in the credits. So you guys, when you watch this movie, do not stop it. Let the credits roll. You will not be sorry. I promise you.
Dude, the guy who did all those amazing titles and credits for the original Kung Fury made that end credit sequence.
Oh my goodness.
Like
so
those
good.
graphics, that guy, Jared Hageman, Croman Lighting, dude, oh my God, what a gem. Seriously.
Definitely.
That guy made my dreams come true.
It was just so great. Yes, he did a stellar job. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I've had so much fun talking to you. I could ask you a million more questions, but I won't be greedy. And I will pass you over to Chris the Creature Zisi. I know he's got some great questions.
Real quick before you go, Chris, I just wanted to say we have a live chat going on, and we have some really solid follows that come on the show weekly, and they're loving you, dude. You are like. Dude. You got some love on the chat, so say what's up to the chat.
I love that. I love that. That's great. Hey, Chris.
Hey, Ryan, how you doing?
Good, man.
Hey, I put two movies together. I got like your movie on the right, and on the left, we've got Van Helsing with Hugh Jackman and Kate Beckinsale in the big budget, and that's for the wine and brie crowd. Now, the Pabst Blue Ribbon crowd, the people that actually work for a living, the people whose elected officials don't listen to them.
Damn right.
This is where Hawk and Rev vampires are. You've made a movie for the people.
I made a movie for the common people, man.
You did. It's an anthem for the regular man. And
yes.
I got to think that the people in this movie, even if you're making fun of them, and if you're making fun of them, I think it means you like them. I think.
Oh, I love them.
Know these people?
I love these people, man. I mean, look, I grew up in Zimbabwe the first 10 years of my life, so I have a very outsider perspective on American culture. I freaking love it. It's like everybody's obsessed with pretentious European cultures and all this business, and I think 80s American culture is like the best thing ever. And then I spent the rest of my time growing up here in Central California, which is, it may as well be the Midwest. It's not that different, man. And so, yes, I know all of these people and I love all of these people. These are the people I grew up with and, still horse around with. So yeah. And I wanted to make movies for them, about them. I mean, these were even people, we even like play acted stuff like this when we were 11 and 12 years old. You know what I mean? With the headbands and, we were obsessed with the Frog Brothers. There was one summer where we must have watched Lost Boys 100 times. So, and we were like, why isn't the movie about those two guys? They're incredible. Like, what the hell?
I don't know if this was an intention of yours, but Ken alluded to the fact everyone's so uptight now. But I think you realize there are tens of millions of people who don't care. They just want to laugh. They don't care about offending people. They're not saying, oh, we might offend the S&M community if we call that man Gimp. But you've got the left wing whackball Rev. You got the right wing whackball Hawk. And alone, they're useless. Together, they do so much. Once you watch this movie, there's a message there that the elites maybe can learn from.
I agree. Look, man, one of my favorite things about Hawk is, 1 second he's a libertarian, the next second he's a hardcore socialist, and he wants extra overtime, and he wants a longer break, man. And then if that gets too oppressive, he's an anarchist. And I just think that's so funny to me, because I think actually most people want to live their life and want to have some fun, man. And I think I just feel like comedy is sorely missing in the United States right now. Like, you can go on a lot of the streaming apps, there's just not a lot of comedy out, and it's brutal. We had a good run there, and it just kind of went away. And I believe our society reflects that in a really terrible way. Everybody's so precious and walking on eggshells. And of course you got to be conscious of stuff, but you've also got to kind of play around and be a little tongue in cheek. It gives people some self-awareness that, they don't need to take themselves that seriously. Heck, I sure as hell don't, whatever.
Well, you can tell Jana when you see her, there's, as far as damsels in great distress goes, she blew Kate Beckinsale's Van Helsing away.
Oh yeah.
And so good for her. And
she's a tough lady, man.
Yeah. She's tough. She's beautiful.
She didn't need us.
No.
We were in the way.
Oh, yeah. And I'm going to hand you back to Ken. Ryan, thank you so much. Job well done.
I appreciate it, Chris. Thanks, buddy.
All right. HorrO's going to jump right on in with his questions. Go for it.
All right. I'm last, and this is one of those times where everybody's asked everything. So I'm going to kind of bring it back to the beginning. And you said you're from Zimbabwe. So how did you get into horror? Like, what was your first introduction? Why is it that you love horror now? Kind of, and you're very well versed in all these movies. So what is it about all that you love?
Well, I think the first, it's not a traditional horror movie, but the first horror movie that I really felt like I remember is Jaws, right? That I saw as a kid at the drive-in in Zimbabwe, because that was where I saw movies there in the late 70s and early 80s, was at the drive-in. I also saw a bunch of really bloody Westerns. And to me, I think that's pretty reflected in Hawk and Rev as well. I really became obsessed with Nightmare on Elm Street because it was just so, I don't know, like just over the top. And then Hellraiser was pretty awesome. But I tended to kind of like this weird mashup between funny and scary, and they like feed each other in this really interesting way. And I love people to be really scared and then tell a funny joke. Like, I even think the original Die Hard is kind of almost like a horror movie. It's definitely cut like one. It has like the tension like that. And also growing up in Zimbabwe, man, things were pretty rough there. It was Rhodesia when I was born there. It turned into Zimbabwe in 1980. And there was a lot of political violence. it was a pretty grim scene and people needed to laugh. And I just remember that juxtaposition of people being really scared about what was going on, you know, down the road there. And then also trying to laugh. And that just stuck with me in this interesting way. And I just love how short and sweet horror movies usually are, and how they really focus in on, you know, one or two particular characters' experiences, as opposed to being these kind of bigger cinematic comments. And like, I love Hitchcock and how compressed all that stuff is. And I feel like horror really, you know, took a lot of that. And as a filmmaker, that's just so fun to play with. And you can play with it in comedy and horror, and then why not do both? And like, the challenge with this was to make the gore as funny as possible. Like, how can we turn this up to 11 and make it just, like, in my mind, we got halfway there. Like, could have gone so much farther. Like I wanted more more blood. Like, but then also to have like a really funny joke in the middle of that. It's hilarious. Like, I don't know. I wrote a bunch of scripts that are, you know, like serial killer comedies that I could never get made, but that's kind of that dark humor line that I just love. It's and to get to inject that into comedy and horror is the best, you know.
I often ask writers and directors, you know, where do you fall in that balance between horror and comedy? But this one is so much comedy mixed with horror in such a natural way. I don't really feel like it, you know, you kind of need to ask that question, just the way that the movie kind of plays out, where, you know, because some movies, you know, they try to balance it, you know, I gotta be serious horror, but I also gotta be funny. But yours is just, you know, a free for all of laughter, and here's some horror, and, you know, and then some commentary over here, and just a fun time.
I was really trying to make a buffet of like movie references, and it's funny because you know, there is a plot there, but most, like, there's only so many plots. There just really are. So then what are you actually saying as a director? And then, like, what's in it for the audience, man? Like, you know. And then I kind of wanted to make something that I would really like to see. Like, I love Edgar Wright stuff. I love Wolf Cop. Like, Wolf Cop is just, oh dude, that movie. I just love that movie so much. And I just felt it was sorely missing. And I'd done a bunch of like really funny commercials and stuff, but I just didn't feel like I'd ever been able to kind of put that stamp on like a feature. And I think I kind of got close here, and I'm just so thankful that people are responding to it so positively, man, because you never know. You know what I mean? It's a fine line, because like you said, people are trying to keep it serious and make it a little scary, so the stakes are high and you care, and then want to break that with some laughter, and it's a tough deal to ride. And actually, I think the score really helps. You know what I mean? Ari, who plays Rev, Ari Schneider, and also Robbie Elfman, his childhood friend, they're both composers as well, and they worked really hard on that soundtrack, kind of bridging that like John Carpenter kind of, you know, almost Nightmare on Elm Street-y kind of synthy vibe that's creepy and scary, but just not too scary. And then, you know, going all the way to Beyonce with all the other stuff. Which the juxtaposition, it also really helps to make fun of Hawk, because he's such a like macho, masculine character. You know what I mean? And
is he though? I don't.
It's good to see him. Well, I think he thinks he is in his head. You know what I mean? Like, he really thinks he is, and it's just pathetic, really, because he's overcompensating so intensely. I love that shot in the alley where he's got, like, you know, the band and Rev, and it's just like the rainbow flags there, the American flags there, the gore's there, the leather's there, the stakes are there. I was like, this is This is hilarious. This is inclusive. This is the actual United States that I know, and that what it really is, as opposed to what everybody's trying to push on everybody all the time, which is good, man. I want everybody to watch the damn movie. And if they identify with Hawk or Rev, or hell, for that matter, the Gimp, good, great. I imagine a lot of women identify with Theo. They're like, God, these men are just pathetic.
You can always appreciate your character when he even owns living in the tent. He's like, I don't care. I'm in this tent, whether it's in the backyard over here or in the middle of this alley, or it doesn't matter. Like, I'm going to own this, and that's it. It's like nothing wrong with it.
I mean, even he has a one-night stand there, man. Like, what does he do?
He's like, I don't care. I brought her back to my tent, and that's it.
Yeah. An early cut I remember sending to a bunch of friends who do not work in the film industry, just to get notes from people who actually watch movies. And my friend, he said that line from Theo where she's like, I've never been booty called to a tent before, just literally destroyed him. And his wife was just crying. She was laughing so hard. And I mean, if you can make that work, hell, you can make anything work. It's the opposite of Nomadland. I don't know if you've seen that, but oh man, it's the opposite of that. Wow.
Absolutely. No, it's obviously fun movie, fun to have a good time there. And I think, wrapping it up, to going back to the end of the movie and the credits with the Gimp scene there and in the van, you even mentioned this. Hey, this is, I think one of the characters there comes out and mentions that this is what it's like shooting an indie film, or something to that effect. So at the end of the movie in the credits, you're actually kind of bringing it all home. Hey, we just shot an indie film. So I thought that was a great addition to not only a blooper moment, but even a realization,
self-aware owning it moment.
Yeah, exactly, owning of what you just did.
Yeah, because no lies, man. It was rough. We did multiple pickup shoots. We had a great time. We had almost $0, and we were just trying to pull it together, and beg, borrowing, and stealing to get it done. So. Yeah, I mean, and then getting someone donated that green screen studio space, and it was just amazing. That was my actual 20-year-old Ford SUV that was sitting there that's all destroyed, that the band drives, and it was so funny just to back that up and like put a bunch of old gear out of my garage in there and be like, let's own this shit right now. Let's just do it and be funny. At the minimum, people will be like, okay, that's like, if the movie looked terrible or sounded terrible, they'd be like, of course.
Well, props to you for making indie horror. We love indie horror. We love obviously supporting it. So great job on the movie, and I'm going to pass it back to Ken.
I appreciate it, HorrO. Thank you, buddy.
All right, Ryan. So one thing before we get into, I wanted to touch on two things that you mentioned through all the different questions. The music, I loved it. I felt like it was like spaghetti westernish at moments,
Oh, yeah.
I dug it. And I wanted to recommend a movie. I don't know if you've seen this movie. It's another indie film that we actually were fortunate to cover and promote. Uncle Peckerhead. If you haven't watched this movie,
I have not seen that. Someone mentioned it to me a while back.
You gotta watch it. It reminded me it was comedy horror, and it was very gory. It was over the top gore, but it was like you were tuned into it and you loved it. So I would highly recommend watching Uncle Peckerhead. But before we let you go, we gotta put you through the trivia contest, man. 13 questions. You in? Horror trivia.
I'll do it. I'll do my best.
We help you out, man. We give you 3 lifelines. You can ask for multiple choice. Okay. You can ask for help from any one of the co-hosts besides Muse. Muse is the only one that knows the answers to the questions, and she's going to ask them, and I'm going to keep score. Okay. And you can postpone a question. Maybe you have it on the tip of your tongue, or you want to secretly Google it real quick. So go ahead, Muse. Take it away.
All right, here we go. So do you have any questions before we get started?
I mean, you know, I'm just hoping my brain cells hold together long enough.
Me too. I'm like, I am feeling pretty okay over here, probably still. So I'm not too sure how this is going to go. So we'll see how we get through this. This could be a total train wreck. So
Awesome.
yeah, if anything,
I'll
it
hold
should
it
be
together.
funny. Yeah, Ken's like, Lori needs to be like wasted more often or something. I don't know. Better questions and everything. I don't know. I'm like, yeah, they like me better just hammered. Okay, so all right. Okay, question 1. Going back a ways here to The Exorcist, and I'm going to ask you, what year was The Exorcist filmed or released? I'm sorry, released.
Oh, I mean, wasn't it like 76 or 77, something like that? 70.
Give him a multiple choice, Muse. On me.
You want
I'll
to
put,
already go
Okay,
there?
me.
okay,
Put it
yeah,
on
yeah.
me. Put it on my tab. Put it
I'll
on my
go with
tab.
multiple choice.
All right, was it 71, 73, or 74?
74.
No, it was
Three.
73.
It was 73?
73, yeah, off by
Yeah.
1 year.
God, that movie is old.
That's why I told you we're going back.
That's why it's so damn scary, man.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Question 2. In the movie Halloween from 1978, what classic horror movie do Tommy and Lindsay watch on television when they're over there and Lori is watching them? I'm going to give you a hint. It has been remade by Carpenter. It was actually
Oh.
it was an oldie there in the 50s, I believe, and then Carpenter remade it in the 80s.
Is it The Thing?
Yes.
Yes.
They were actually watching a thing from another world or thing from another
Yes.
planet there, and that was the oldie they were watching. So I was hoping that hint would help. All right,
Got a nice chain link visual homage to that first thing, that first Halloween in Hawk and Rev. We got some chain, just grazing those chain link things there. I just love that shot.
Yeah, your opening was just so good. Absolutely.
Appreciate
All right.
that.
For the third question, I'm going to give you a movie synopsis of sorts,
Okay.
and I'm going to ask you to tell me what movie I'm talking about. All right. Behold the folly of man. Nuclear weapon tests awaken an ancient monster that appears intent on destroying Tokyo in this 1954 film.
Oh, Godzilla, right?
Yeah, all right.
Nice.
Godzilla. I knew you're gonna hammer that for sure. All right, question 4. So this is a true or false. So it's 50-50 here. True or false? Rogerio Deodato, I'm sorry if I butchered that name, guys. Rogerio Deodato, the director of Cannibal Holocaust, which was released in 1980, was arrested and charged with murder after the film premiered. True or false?
I believe that's true.
That is true, actually.
Yeah.
I remember hearing that. Yeah, apparently the violence in Cannibal Holocaust was so convincing that the film's actors had to appear in court before the charges could be dropped. So that's
As character witnesses.
Yeah.
They're like, it was all pretend.
Well, you went through it too when you guys were filming. The cops busting on the gun with the guns.
Oh,
and, yeah,
dude,
so-
I got to tell a quick story.
Go for
Right
it.
after being covered in blood, we had to leave the location, and my SUV was low on gas, and I pulled over to get gas in the Hawk outfit, covered in blood, in the North Hills of LA. In like 4 in the goddamn morning, and this woman pulled up in like a white Infinity and just looked at me and went, and then kept driving. I was like, damn it, I can't believe
you
no one
ruined her,
else saw
man.
this.
You ruined her.
It was
hard for life.
amazing.
I'm dying. I'm dying.
Oh my goodness. I'm dead over here already. All right. Oh man, we're on question 5. All right. Question 5. Now this is a tricky one. I'm going to give you a hint though, if you don't know it straight out. Who directed the movie Martin from 1977? This is a really underrated gem by a very, very well-known horror director, very legend. I will give you a hint if you're blanking.
Yeah. I'll take a hint.
He is considered the godfather of the zombie film.
Yeah, I thought it was George Romero, right?
Yes,
Didn't he do that?
George
Yeah.
Romero. Yes.
Yeah.
Very underrated, different twist on vampire films. I highly recommend that one. If
Right.
you've not seen it, definitely good.
I love vampire movies. I'm having a really hard time writing any other kind of horror right now. It's
Right.
really
Yeah, they're definitely one of those parts of the genre that are just so, I don't know, they just reel you in every time.
They're
Just
human and creepy. It's just
I
yes.
dig it. I dig it.
Yeah.
If
When
it's
you
done
kept
right.
referencing the Lost Boys, I just was like, you're like the sequels. I was like, I like the sequels. I felt so seen there. I was like,
Well,
I know. I
aw.
like them too. I was just
HorrO's a big Twilight fan. I mean, he thinks that's like the cream of
Yeah.
the.
sparkly vampires. So they're like,
Twilight as a
I will
horror
kill
comedy
everybody.
could be good.
Oh God,
gosh.
that's 6. Or
All right, 6.
Yeah,
All
six.
right. The movie The Changeling, starring George C. Scott from 1980, takes place in what U.S. city?
Oh,
I can give you a hint on this one too, unless you want to do a lifeline.
I'll do a hint.
It rains a lot there.
Yeah, it's either Seattle or Portland.
The first one, Seattle.
Yeah. Yeah.
When I did these, I was like, okay, I want to make sure I can give hints so that everybody doesn't have to burn their lifelines if they have an issue or whatever. Okay, so I did those on purpose.
Yeah.
All right, for question 7, we're going to do something a little different, and I'm going to this is just going to be just random, whatever you want to come up with. Name 5 horror movies that begin with the letter S. Well, we could do 3 if you don't want to do 5. If 5
Do
seems
3.
like-
Do 3.
do 3. Okay, name 3 horror movies that begin with the letter S.
Okay, well, like Swamp Thing, right? Suspiria and Shaun of the Dead.
There you go.
That's
right,
a
you could've
solid
done 5.
trifecta. I would watch.
Yeah,
Let's make
hey, I
that
will.
movie.
Watch-
That's what those genre mashups, man. That's what's fun.
For
Swamp Thing
sure.
versus zombies. There you go. I
Yeah.
love that.
I love that movie Cockneys versus Zombies with the old British folks. It's so gory.
I didn't see that. I've seen the previews for that.
Oh, it's epic. It's
Oh my
epic.
goodness. It looked hilarious.
Yeah.
All right. Question 8. The documentary Room 237 examines a number of theories about and hidden messages contained within what classic horror film?
Oh man. Oh yeah, I am totally blanking on that.
You can ask one of us. You can postpone it. Maybe think about it.
I think one of the guys may know this one.
Ken, I'll lifeline you.
Ken's already making a face.
Is it The Shining?
It is The Shining.
Yeah,
Yep.
okay.
237.
Oh, right. Because it's the room number,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Damn it.
All right.
You still got it right though, so it's good.
Yep. Now, I'm not sure if I've asked this one before. It's been a while since we did a Deathly 13, so everybody probably will forget it anyway. But in the movie Children of the Corn from 1984, how do the characters Bert and Vicky destroy the villain, He Who Walks Behind the Rose? How do they destroy him at the end of the movie?
Oh, don't they burn him alive or something like that?
They do. They burn the cornfield. I love that. they do
Yeah.
that. Yeah. All right. I was wondering
Was James Woods in that? He was, right?
Mark
Wasn't he?
Singer. Was it Mark Singer? Or
No, you guys are
no,
way
not Mark
off.
Singer.
I can't
Oh, we're
think
both way
name.
off.
The blonde dude and
Yeah,
Linda,
I
Linda
can't
Hamilton, right?
It was-
Right.
Yeah, it was something. It was something like that. And Linda
That was a
Hamilton,
creepy
blonde dude.
movie,
It
dude.
was. It
Yes.
That
was.
was really creepy.
You know, you mentioned Jaws. Jaws
Yeah.
is one of the most scariest movies because
Oh,
it makes you think. You're in the ocean, you're thinking about Jaws. You're in the cornfield, you're thinking about that goddamn kid and Children of the Corn. So scary
I was always
movies.
scared. I was always scared of the tall guy, the redheaded guy, where he's like, "Oh,
Yeah.
Ledger." I still
Redheads
yell
are
at people.
scary. I have 2 redheaded daughters, and they're, dude, like on Halloween.
Gingers ain't no joke, man.
I'm dying. Oh my god, my ribs
Jaws
hurt.
is so scary because it's in the daylight as well. Like
Yeah.
it's just
Yeah, and you can't see what's below.
Yeah.
Oh, it's brutal.
I don't do the ocean because that movie. It does not happen now. Never.
Spielberg, underrated horror filmmaker.
For sure. Yeah, he's involved in Poltergeist too, which scared the bejesus out of me as a
Yeah.
kid.
Oh man. That
My
one
mom
still
took me to
gets
that,
people.
and she was, she thought that was going to be a family-friendly film. She was not happy.
Wrong.
Like it's by the director of E.T. It'll be great.
Right.
This is follow-up film. It's good. Question 10.
All right, question 10. All right. Ken's like, stay on the rails. All right. Name 2 horror movies with either fear or afraid in the title.
Oh. Fear or afraid?
know
Well, I
Chris
feel
has-
like I I mean, I feel like there's a movie called Afraid of the Dark.
That is correct. There is one called Don't Be Afraid of the Dark. Yes,
Yeah.
I will give that to you. Yeah, absolutely.
Fear.
One more.
Isn't there a movie called Fear?
There is a movie
there
called Fear.
is.
I was gonna stop you, like you just said one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
All
I
right.
just gave one.
That's a
answer
trick
here.
question.
Muse.
Yeah, you are correct. That is a trick question.
Muse has a little red in her hair, so
That's awesome.
I do.
Man. I got a red beard. It's this is just going gray, but you know.
I'm not going to talk about how much gray might be happening in my hair because it doesn't matter.
Hey, come on, you earn them, right? You earn them.
Yeah, it's wisdom. That's what I call it.
yeah.
Freaks of wisdom.
Well, I don't know about
Where we're
that.
at with it.
Question
Not in
11.
my case.
Okay, question 11. All right. We love Patrick Wilson on the show. He's a great actor. Been in quite a few horror movies. I want you to give me 2 horror movies starring Patrick Wilson.
Well, I mean, he did Insidious, right? And then what the heck was that other thing he was in? There's something where he plays a sheriff or something in it. Is it one of the M. Night movies that he's in? No.
I don't think so.
No, he's in Insidious, and then there's the that's all part of the same franchise, though.
Yeah. This movie, the other movie he was
Yeah.
in, definitely is along those lines. I'd say he plays a pretty famous demon hunter type character.
Real, based off a true story.
Yes.
Oh.
When you go and you try to call up a spirit, what is it called?
Oh yeah. When you're like a demon seer or a clairvoyant or oh god, what the hell is it? It's like right. Oh.
You still got some lifelines. You got Chris and HorrO.
Okay, Chris, lifeline, Chris.
Conjuring.
Yes.
Conjuring.
There it is.
All right, you got 2 more questions left.
Okay.
All right. Let me see how I want to do this. Who directed the 1995 remake of Village of the Damned?
Oh, I was gonna say Zack Snyder, but that's not the truth.
I don't know how well that was.
That was
Zack.
Dawn of the Dead. Who did Village of the Damned?
Another very well-known horror director, legend.
Yeah. Was it? It wasn't Wes Craven. It was not John Carpenter. It was.
Are you sure about that?
Might have been one of those.
Might have been one.
Okay, maybe it was Craven. No, it was Carpenter.
It was Carpenter. It was Carpenter.
I was like, no. Yeah, it's Carpenter. That is correct.
All right, last.
Yeah, I'm not sure I saw that.
Last question is worth 2 points. So if you get this last one, you go 13 for 13. It's a bonus point. So you missed the first one. So yeah, you can go 13 for 13.
Jamming.
Either way, you're gonna have a good score, man.
Yeah. All right. Speaking of John Carpenter,
Yeah.
where does John Carpenter's The Thing take place?
I believe Antarctica or the Arctic, right? Yeah.
Antarctica.
Antarctica.
Yep.
In the ice, yeah.
Correct.
Yeah,
Ryan,
I love that guy, dude.
Me
He's-
too. My favorite. You can tell.
Yeah.
Ryan, you killed it, man. 13 for
Thank you,
13
guys.
on the Deathly 13. This is an opportunity we like to give you to just talk about where we can watch a film when it's coming out and where do we find you on social media.
I appreciate that. So you can go to hawkandrev.com, and right now it's only available for pre-order on iTunes between now and March 16th. March 16th, it's going to come out everywhere in North America, anywhere behind a paywall. So your whatever brand you like to watch on, it'll be on there. And on Hawk and Rev, all that stuff will be really easy to find. You can also sign up on there and we'll send you that free poster that Tom Hodge, the dude designs, this, really famous kind of campy poster designer, made for us. He did the poster for Wolf Cop as well. You can find me on social media, just Ryan Barton Grimley on, Instagram or Twitter or Facebook, any of that stuff. YouTube, I have a pretty active YouTube channel. I'm trying to do a lot of tutorials for like indie filmmakers, but not selling them anything either. Just kind of giving them the view from the trenches, which is kind of fun. Hawk and Rev, at some point, we're hoping it will be on Shudder after, later this year, which would be pretty damn amazing because I just love that app, man. We are also going to play the Fantaspoa Film Festival in Brazil in May, which is like the largest Latin American film festival. It's kind of like Cannes for horror in Latin America. So that's kind of cool. And we're going to be out all over Europe, I think, later this fall. So go to hawkandrev.com. You can connect with me. You can connect with the production company, with everything there. And I just, hope you guys enjoy the film. And, I think we're going to do some pretty cool like giveaways with Blu-rays and stuff with like bloody steaks and maybe some bloody headbands as well. Cause Lord knows we got a lot of those. And I thought that could be kind of cool. But I thank you guys so much for having me on and supporting fun, silly horror like we're making. That's really awesome. Appreciate it.
RBG, thank you so much, man. We wish you nothing but success with the film. We enjoyed it. It was a good laugh. It was a lot of fun. Something different like we spoke about before. Anyway, take care, man, and keep it scary.
Thanks, buddy. I will keep it scary. I'll see you guys soon. Thank you, dude.
Peace.
Bye, guys. Thanks,
Bye.
Muse.
Yeah, it was a blast.
All right, we're clear, man. Thanks a lot again. We'll talk to you soon, okay?
You guys are the best. Thank you, guys.
All right,
Appreciate
you are
it.
so awesome.
Thank you.
I laughed the whole
Yeah,
time.
I'll see you guys around.
All
Okay.
right.
Take care,
Hopefully,
guys.
we hope you come back.
Yeah, more
Next movie.
horror comedy.
Yes, I love it.
Bye, guys.
All right, we'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Night.
All right, we're going to jump right into it. You guys good?
Yep.
I want some of Chris's pizza. What the hell is this?
Yeah.
Hey, we're still live on the YouTube channel, just so you guys know.
That's okay. Hand out
okay.
slices.
I've invited
Hand out
everybody.
slices.
I know. Chris would share. Ken is the one that would tease us. He'd be like, bring your own.
It's for you
Yeah,
guys.
I just-
Anybody want to
I
see
just
that
popped
pizza?
open. Yeah, I just popped open the Instagram there. The first thing is your giant pizza there.
Yeah, I didn't eat
I
it
was
all.
like, I've
so,
not had dinner, damn it.
if anybody wants to see that pizza, go to Instagram at CJ Zisi and come
Love
on over. I'm a bachelor tonight. I get the whole house, 4,000 square feet, just me.
All right, here we go, guys. Good evening, horror fans. Welcome to Where the Scary Things Are. I'm your host, MonsterMash Ken, and with me is my co-host, the Mistress of Darkness, the Queen of Fright, the Lady of the Night, Muse. How are you feeling, lady?
I'm hanging in there. I'm powering through it, and I'm doing a lot better than I was a few nights ago. A little bit of a kidney stone issue there, and it is a little taste of hell, let me tell you.
You know,
Yeah.
I got the perfect
I'm a worst
remedy.
enemy.
I got the perfect remedy for that. You should have just ate a bunch of centipedes and just they would have.
Oh, don't even. I would have killed you. I'm flipping you off. You just cannot see it right now.
Yeah, they would have cleared you right out.
But
You
I'd be
know.
like, oh gosh, no, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
all right now. But a few nights ago, I'd have been like, why?
Queen of Black Magic, remember?
Oh, I love that movie, but I couldn't handle it the other night. Oh goodness, no.
All right. Well, we're also here with Chris, the Creature Zisi. What's up, my friend? How are you?
I'm doing really well. I ate well tonight. I made a pizza, and if you want to see that pizza, see me on Instagram at CJ Zizzy, and I have plenty left. Come on over. I'm a bachelor tonight. The gals aren't here, and I even have an adult beverage or two if you would like to partake.
Nice. I dig it because I may have two in front of me as well, which I'll get to in a second. And a person that probably needs a drink from dealing with bones all day. And Dexter. HorrO, what's up, my friend? How are you? But you're on mute. See, you really do need a drink because Dexter can't even unpress the mute button.
Damn, Dexter, I told you were in charge of the mute button, man. He just sits there with his hat backwards. You know, he's a little stunned. We were having a conversation about what it would be like if we were vampire slayers. And yeah, I said, you know, do you have my back? And yeah, I'm not so sure. I think I'd become a vampire really quickly.
I don't know how you deal with him because I don't even like looking at him, and I just tolerate him very much so.
Unless he scares away the vampires, you know, I don't know. I guess I'm doomed.
So speaking of vampires, I'm going to talk about our movie. If you are watching the live YouTube stream, which you can tune in, listeners of the podcast, you can tune in every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern on our YouTube channel. It's a lot of fun. The chat is fire. I love the chat. A lot of great people on there. Luna Redcoat, John Grant, Mike, Muse is always popping her head in there too. But a lot of great people in there. Tune in every Tuesday night, 7 p.m. It's a lot of fun. Or on Facebook if you want. But anyway, speaking of vampires, we are going to talk about this movie, Hawk and Rev, Vampire Slayers. We have the director, the writer, and producer, and lead actor, Ryan Barton Grimley. That's got to be a world record for our show, where he covered so many jobs for a movie. And this guy was a fucking riot, man. I was laughing the whole time. I had to push myself on mute because I'm laughing at some of the questions and the answers. And I just love when we get guests like that, where it just flows naturally and they're able to just to be themselves and whatnot. But check this movie out. Hawk and Rev, Vampire Slayers, and you guys caught that interview on the YouTube channel before, but you'll hear it at the second part of the podcast. Anyway, shout out to Isaac Thorne for doing our opening of the show on the podcast. We appreciate you very much. Shout out to the Strange Society Network, all the awesome shows on there. Check out our website, www.wherethescarythingsare.com. I'm going to get right into it because I got this beer that's sitting here staring at me with the Fear of the Beer of the Week. I got a lot of cool stuff for you guys today. So right now I'm going to drink this Mexican hot chocolate stout. This is stout brewed with cinnamon, chocolate, and peppers. It's called Cincho Pep. Cincho Pep. So I'm going to try this bad boy. I've been waiting to drink this all week. I got it last week, and I can't. Well, it's spilling all over me. Now that is bizarrely, interestingly good. Like, I tasted chocolate and cinnamon, and then at the end I get the pepper, and it's that's wild. Wow. So check that out. That's Wet Ticket Brewing. I believe they're out here in New Jersey, but that's really good. Cincho Pep. Cheers to you guys. I want to get into I totally forgot to do a horror movie flashback because I was so into just doing the black hole of the internet. So I want to jump into this real quick. So we're speaking about vampires, right? And in this movie, the synopsis is pretty much Hawk is just dreaming about killing vampires. He's got this whole backstory, right? And he's a character. He's a crazy character. So I started looking into like real vampire hunters, and I kind of just went down the rabbit hole, and it went really deep. And I'm just going to kind of rattle off some things here. So there's 7 rules that this is published by what website is LA Weekly. Somebody, I guess, spoke to this person that really feels that they're a real vampire hunter, and they put it in an article, and they gave them rules of I guess this writer was talking about vampire hunting kits, you know, and where you can buy them and how authentic they are and whatnot. And I guess it's a thing like Ouija boards, and people go and look for this shit. And some of them are real and whatever. And I'll get to that in a minute. But there are 7 rules if you didn't know about killing vampires, and here we go. Rule number 1, you cannot kill a vampire. It is already dead. You can only destroy it. So rule number 1, you can only destroy a vampire. Rule number 2, an annoyed vampire is a dangerous vampire. Now, that rule kind of applies to everybody. You know, an annoyed MonsterMash Ken is a dangerous MonsterMash Ken. Muse, you get that all the time. Rule number 3, guns tend to annoy vampires. See rule number 2. Fair enough. Rule number 4, real vampires are real. Or wait, I'm sorry, I read that wrong. Real vampires are evil. So if they're real, they're evil. Rule number 4, keep that in mind. Rule number 5, if you are seduced by a vampire, you will become one or become dead. See rule number 4. I'm dying here. Rule number 6, and this is the one that really counts, kill them all. Rule number 7, when in doubt and all the times, execute rule number 6. So this was taken from a true vampire hunter that I'm reading the article. I'm not going to go into it too much, but you can find this article on LA Weekly, and I guess she decided to put this out, and somebody reached out to her and was really adamant that people knew about these rules because, you know what? Why wouldn't they? So I started looking more into this about there were like people that really thought vampires were real, and there were like 6 or 7 cases of real people that were killed as vampires, and not people that were vampire I'm sorry, not vampires that killed people, but people that thought that they were vampire, like witch trials. And apparently in New England and stuff, it was kind of the same thing as them burning people on witches. And there were these names of it's crazy in the 1700s what people just did. If they, maybe you had tuberculosis or some shit, and they, oh, you're a vampire because you're sick and you're still walking, so they automatically labeled you as a vampire. And there was no law and order back then. It was like the people said, and now you're convinced because they weren't smart enough to know what was going on, and they would burn you or kill you. And some of the stuff is pretty crazy, like 17th century, 18th century. Somebody was 19 years old in Rhode Island. He was burned at the stake. And I just couldn't. A Dartmouth College student from a well-known, respected family in South Woodstock, Vermont, he died of tuberculosis, the tuberculosis one, and they said they had to open up the casket and kill this kid because they thought he was a vampire. People are out of control. I mean, I'll never understand it. I'm glad that I'm well educated, and I'm even more well educated on the 7 rules of killing vampires. So I feel pretty good about that. And that's just the black hole of the internet and the things that you can find on the internet. And I've had a really good time doing it. And you should see me as I'm researching because I'm laughing the whole time. Anyway, Muse, what are you thinking about that? It's pretty nuts, right?
Yeah. It's like people are absolutely insane. I don't know. I honestly, I kept waiting for them to say that you got to cut the head off. Because I hear that a lot with vampires and everything. But whatever it takes to get them dead, I don't know. I mean, it's just one of those things where, it's a horror movie. Is it really ever dead? The creatures always find a way to regenerate themselves. So I don't know. But yeah.
We'll get right into your Sinister Six. I always have such a hard time bringing this thing up. I always have a hard time getting it up. You make me so nervous. I don't know what to do here.
I don't know. I'm like,
but you can jump into it, and then I'll
okay.
it'll be on there.
All right. So basically what this is going to be about, and if you guys don't want to chime in on this one, I mean, you could give me your thoughts. This might be kind of a tricky one to kind of like swing back around to you guys about, because I'm not sure what your guys' opinion is on this. But this is all about 6 fan theories that may make you think twice about your favorite horror movies. So basically, this is what horror fans have kind of deduced from a lot of our favorite horror movies, some popular theories. Now, some of these, this is all in fun. So just to remember, some of these are a bit on the crazy, ridiculous side. And so I still had fun with it, just kind of like, reading what everybody kind of thought. But these were my favorites from the list. I think they had like a top 10. And I want to give ScreenRant.com a shout for this, because I totally jacked this from their article. So I can't take credit for this. I want to give them the credit for this great list. I took my favorites from it, though. They had a bunch. So I would say check out ScreenRant.com. They have a lot of great articles. But starting off at number 1 is the theory that Sam Loomis is the same character in Psycho and Halloween. He's just slightly older. Quite a bit older. We see him as he would be quite a young man in Psycho. But the theory is here, fans think that Sam Loomis is the same character there from Psycho. And that, so we know that Psycho is not only one of Alfred Hitchcock's most notable works, but it's also one of the most famous horror movies from the 60s. So likewise, John Carpenter's Halloween is one of the most recognized horror films in existence, thanks to the iconic Michael Myers. And Carpenter pays homage to Psycho and Halloween by naming one of its characters Sam Loomis. But what if it's actually the same character from Psycho? So Loomis from Psycho, I guess you could say, this is the theory, could have dedicated his life to studying psychology after what happened to Marion, which would have led him to Smith's Grove Sanitarium in Haddonfield. Michael Myers could have reminded him of Norman Bates, which is why Loomis was so involved with Michael's treatment and eventually was willing to do whatever he could to stop another serial killer. So I thought that was really kind of interesting. I noticed that, Psycho is one of my favorite horror movies of all time, along with Halloween. So I always noticed that I definitely felt like it was Carpenter paying an homage to Hitchcock there. So I thought that was really kind of cool. So that's the first one. So that one's not way out there. It's actually pretty intriguing if you think about it. The second one is centering on Army of Darkness. So the theory here is that everything that happens in Army of Darkness is all in Ash's head, that it didn't really happen. So while the original Evil Dead from 1981 is a straightforward horror film, we know this, the sequel infused a lot more comedy. And Ash went through more trauma in a single night than most people go through in their entire life. So it's, it's not too hard to believe that Ash's mind simply snapped at some point in the series, and that Army of Darkness may have just been a major league hallucination, which, I mean, I don't think that's as fun, but it's realistic. I didn't like that one as much because I kind of loved the fact that because it was just so different from the other movies, and it just went in a completely different direction. So that's kind of like one of the fan theories that horror fans entertained. It's interesting. It's an interesting topic. I like to think it actually happened because I love that movie. So the third theory is that in Nightmare on Elm Street, the first one, Freddy is actually Nancy's real father. Now we know John Saxon plays her dad in the movie, but what if that wasn't her real father? So Freddy Krueger, we know, murdered a lot of children throughout the Nightmare on Elm Street series, but Nancy Thompson seemed to always be his favorite. Nancy's mother and father were part of the mob that hunted and burned Krueger alive. But what if Freddy was actually Nancy's father? And this would stand to reason. This would explain why Freddy always seems to be tormenting Nancy in the first film, while he quickly kills some of the other victims. Nancy's house is on Elm Street. Her house on Elm Street is also heavily featured in the first film and the sequels. It always goes back to that house. But what if that's because Freddy used to live there? And her mom, Marge, lied to her daughter about Freddy to spare her the traumatic details of her childhood. But maybe her mom is still not telling the whole truth. So I always felt that was that was another intriguing theory as well. So I definitely felt that was one of those theories that you could kind of like, that's believable to me. I wasn't feeling the Army of Darkness one, but the Nightmare on Elm Street one actually makes a little bit of sense. Even though I love John Saxon as Nancy's dad, he's one of my favorites. He's a great actor. The fourth idea is a little bit more ridiculous. So kind of hang with me here. This one was a little bit sketchy, but I thought it was interesting. So we all know about the Paranormal Activity movies. And they're found footage, and we all know the stories. Most of us horror fans have seen the first one and the sequels. I love them. But the thought here from fans, the theories here, is that the Paranormal Activity movies were actually real. So this just hang with me here. I thought this was a little ridiculous, but I thought it would be interesting, kind of controversial one to throw out there. So the thought here is that the Paranormal Activity franchise, we know, is a group of fictional found footage movies. Or are they? There's a popular fan theory that the Paranormal Activity movies are actually real encounters with demons, and that the director, Oren Peli, made a deal with the demon himself. Now, Oren Peli, if you're out there, I'm not slamming you. This is just a fan theory that I found on the interwebs, so don't kill me. Essentially, the theory goes that Peli agreed to help the demon become more powerful in return for a career in Hollywood and a massively successful film franchise. This means that the people who see the demons and are scared of it becomes stronger. So the Paranormal Activity movies have been seen by millions of people around the world. So if this fan theory is true, then there is one powerful demon out there somewhere. Now, like I said, Oren Peli, don't sue me. This was not my deduction. This is a fan theory. We're not saying this is true at all. This is just a fun fan theory. I don't believe it for a second. I'm just putting that out there. Absolutely don't go out there and think that Oren Peli has made a deal with the devil or anything like that. So I thought that was a fun one. That was pretty intriguing, but I'm not definitely gonna, I'm not banking on that one. The fifth theory here is that we all know that I love The Thing, and I know a lot of us do too. I just love John Carpenter. So this is a pretty popular, well-known fan theory, and that at the end of The Thing, Childs was suspected, and most definitely probably The Thing. We don't know. It's just a theory, and it's just more or less hearsay. But it's one of those things where a lot of people felt that was probably the case. So John Carpenter's The Thing, which we know is a remake, released in 1982. So we know the film revolves around a research team who encounter a shape-shifting alien in Antarctica. And, I guess there at the end of the movie, the film ends ambiguously with no clear explanation as to whether McCready or Childs is the alien in disguise. Some people believe that the whiskey that Childs drinks at the end of the film isn't actually whiskey, but gasoline from a Molotov cocktail. This would also mean that MacReady was chuckling at the end of the film because he now had the upper hand since he knew Childs was the alien. So that's a really interesting theory, and I've heard that one several times. I do think that it was probably Childs or MacReady. There's a lot of talk about MacReady being the thing as well. It kind of goes back and forth. So it's definitely a interesting theory to entertain. And the last theory is that it centers on Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and we all know that Leatherface has him in this crazy family. But basically, what's going on here, according to fan theories, is that we know that Leatherface is no doubt the main killer in Tobe Hooper's Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but he also lives with cannibalistic psychopaths who he calls quote unquote family. Some people believe that Leatherface's family members aren't actually related to him, but are police officers who went insane. So it's possible, the theory here is that it's possible that the officers who investigated the farmhouse were so traumatized by what they saw that they eventually gave in to the madness and simply joined Leatherface. And the 2003 remake by Marcus Nispel seems to even support this, since the sheriff in the movie ends up being a bad guy that helps the cannibals. And we know this Sheriff Hoyt, who we all know and love. I cannot think of his name, but he was in Full Metal Jacket. It's totally escaping me because it's one of those nights. I would know it any other night, but it definitely supports that theory. So that's definitely one of the more popular theories. And I threw in one for fun. For all of you that knew that have seen Cloverfield, just an extra one real fast, I wanted to give an honorable mention. So supposedly the theory here is that there's actually two monsters in Cloverfield. And so we know the giant creature in the found footage film Cloverfield absolutely demolished New York. But what if it wasn't acting alone? Some people believe that there wasn't just one monster. I'm sorry, my neighbors are going crazy if you can hear them screaming in the background. But I don't know. Somebody's kids are going
You're good. You're good. You
okay. But so the theory was that some people believe there wasn't just one monster, but two. And people pointed this out after seeing differences in the monster's skin and size throughout the movie. And it's widely believed that Clover was awoken after part of a satellite fell into the Atlantic Ocean. And the creature designer, Neville Page, even confirmed, I guess, that Clover was just a scared baby looking for his mother. So it's possible that Clover and his mother were both seen throughout the movie, just not together. So this could also explain why the monster that emerges from the clouds at the end of the Cloverfield paradox, if you've seen that, seems to be so much bigger than the one from the first film. And I've actually not seen Cloverfield paradox, but I heard it's really good. But so those are my favorites. So I'm just going to swing around to the guys and get your opinions, unless you guys have some of your own fan theories that you want to touch on that you've always wondered about or kind of felt intriguing, or we can touch on some of the ones I talked about. So I will swing around to, I'm going to swing around to Ken first and see what his thoughts are.
Well, naturally, I think the biggest theory, and actually it kind of, one of our hosts here on the show, it may have something to do with this, but one of the greatest vampire films ever made was directed by HorrO, but he used a different alias in Twilight. So there's this theory going on underground that only few people know about, that HorrO may have helped. What's that bitch's name that wrote the book? I forgot. But HorrO may have helped her write it and direct. So, but it's a very touchy subject for him, because I think he was in a really dark point in his life.
Yeah, here he comes.
And he that's why he chose to put the diamonds on the vampires, because he was trying to say that I was living a dark time and I wanted to shine. I wanted to shine above all the dark vampires. But that's a rumor. I don't know. HorrO, do you want to input on that?
You have just completely ruined my special that I just filmed with Oprah. We just did a whole sit down and conversation about that in total depth about this whole rumor. And now you've just ruined it. So now I'm going to have to get back with Oprah and have a conversation about how we're going to do this thing.
Well, you got a week. I don't release the show, and we only have like one listener on the YouTube channel. I'm just kidding. A lot more than that. But
Oprah's a little busy right now with another story, so I don't know. She kind of put me on the back burner. We were supposed to do that before, but we got pushed aside. But
when you hang out with people like Dexter, that kind of happens. So.
And precisely.
But I don't have one a theory that pertains to horror movies, to tell you the truth, other than I always thought that the Exorcist being cursed was kind of a cool theory. I don't know if that was true or not. It's coincidence, but that'd probably be the only one. There's a lot of weird things that happen with that. But other than that, though, I don't know. Does anybody else want to jump in and throw something out there?
I got two that one's mine and one I've heard. You guys ever see the Mel Gibson movie Braveheart?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
absolutely, absolutely.
I am convinced that I think we can say that Doomsday with Rona Mitra is the sequel to Braveheart.
Oh, okay.
And those of you who haven't seen, they're both about the independence of Scotland, one centuries ago and one a little bit in the future. If you haven't seen Doomsday, watch it. Very underrated movie. Malcolm McDowell's in it, so you know it's good. But like I said, both about the independence of Scotland. The second one I've heard, you guys ever see Count Yorga Vampire?
Well, you told us about you gave a good review. I remember. Yeah.
I had heard from a high FBI official that was originally supposed to be a porn movie. Apparently that is out there. I don't know. I mean, porn movies can, I guess, run the gamut. But the final product definitely wasn't a porn movie. But I guess if you look at it, you can sort of see opportunity where it could have gone there. So those are the two that come to my mind. Are you guys praying? What are you doing?
I was playing on the chat room right now, and my phone's down here.
Mine's the same. I put mine, Dexter's hogging the phone over here. I was trying to wrestle it from him.
Well, you had the same position. It was like, yeah.
Yeah, Dexter's got my phone over
turning
here.
my camera off.
I want to know what the hell he's doing over here.
You said porn, and I got excited. What can I say?
And turn that screen off. We don't need to know.
Zoom accidents. Yeah, Zoom accidents. Podcast host. Yeah, that's all we need. Horror podcast host.
That's the next theory coming up.
Yeah, something's coming up.
I'll just chime in since Dexter's using the phone over here. I'll just chime in and say that if you kind of want to follow along these lines, kind of catch the series that was recently done called Cursed Films. That kind of plays along the same lines, whether you believe them or not. Definitely some interesting theories about certain movies. The Exorcist is one of them. Poltergeist. I think Twilight Zone was another one. Whether you think things are real or fake that have happened in movies. And I guess another kind of theory that some people like to guide along and to play with is how close Disney films are to horror. All the different ways that you can match them up and different characters, different themes, and so forth. As far as horror is concerned, there's also other rumors that not per se a horror movie, but there's also I think it's horror related or so forth. Is that some people take their ashes to Disney World because they love them so much, and family members, and they will sprinkle them around either their favorite ride or a certain area or so forth or whatever. So that's a thought.
I'm going to chime in on that because if when I do die, and it might be sooner than later from after this show, but when I do die, and if I do get cremated, if that's what I decide to do, I wouldn't mind like my ashes getting sprinkled on in San Diego Comic-Con because I love Comic-Con, or like the Raiders, the stadium. I don't know which one because they've been in 3. But they kill me too, so I'm on my way out. But I could see people doing that. I'd imagine a lot of people do that. Like, where do you want to like be laid to rest? You want to be somewhere that you really enjoyed in life, and I enjoyed those things. What if like I was passed around on eBay, like that? Wouldn't somebody like sell like a pin, like, all right, MonsterMash Ken's ashes starting at $1 bid, and then it just goes up and up and up. But I'm gonna send all the proceeds to Dexter, and because he needs it, he looks like he needs a good meal.
Absolutely,
this went off the rails a little bit. Yeah, Sinister 6 just went off to the Sinister 666. But speaking,
it's like, man, I'm drunk.
You're definitely drunk.
About some of these theories.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of them are pretty wild. So I hope everybody enjoyed it. It seemed like a fun topic to kind of tackle.
It was.
I'm different. Like I said, I stole it from Screen Rant. That's not even from me, man. But I still love the idea.
Well, I'm glad you made it through, Muse. We're
Yeah.
gonna. Oh, you're a
I
champ,
hung in
dude.
there for you guys. I love doing it. So it just shows you. I was told not to do it, but I was like, screw that. I'm doing it.
Yeah, like a champ, Jamie. Like a champ, Jamie. Remember that.
Yeah, like a boss.
All right, we're gonna throw it over to the real boss, HorrO, and the 666 horror rundown.
Oh, that was some wild stuff. And Muse on medicine is a good Muse. And now she can go to sleep. Just take. You don't have to listen to my segment. You can take a nap. I give you all permission to do so, because that was some fun stuff there. Dexter certainly appreciated as he still hogs my phone here. So tonight I'm gonna again kind of swing around the remake in another angle here, and talk about kind of how you view movies, but from a different angle. So last night, my wife and I watched Coming to America, both the original and the sequel that just came out. And the week before, we had watched Tom and Jerry. So, these are, after I watched them, I was kind of thinking about how I viewed these movies versus some of the other horror remakes, reboots, sequels, whatever you want to call them, that keep coming up, whether there's a remake of a movie, reboot, or a long awaited for sequel, and so forth. So how did I view these two movies in particular, just because I just recently saw them? But you could pick, a long range of any other movies, versus how I feel when a horror movie comes out. So, do I get as mad watching these movies as I did, some of the other ones, or do I like them or not, or what are the feelings? Am I as passionate in this as with horror? And obviously, horror is my favorite genre, my favorite style of movie, so I take that the most seriously. But besides that, I like action movies, I like comedies, and so forth, and even Disney. We mentioned Disney a minute ago. I'm a big Disney person, and so forth. I've seen tons of Disney films, so I do like other things as well, and I've seen tons of movies. So I'm gonna start, just real briefly with Tom and Jerry. Now, when the first trailer came out, I think I even may have mentioned it out here just as a joke, how ridiculous it kind of looked. And these movies, where you kind of have this animation / real life thing, it just looks funny. I know way back in the day we got Who Framed Roger Rabbit. I think that might have been one of the first ones to kind of really, really do it, and they seem to do it well. But some of these other movies afterwards, it's just a little awkward. So there was a little bit of awkwardness there. And I'm not going to say I'm the biggest Tom and Jerry fan, but I remember I did watch a lot of Tom and Jerry. And one of the things, and as I was watching this movie, I watched it, it was okay, whatever, it's Tom and Jerry. But I guess I did find myself getting mad at one thing. And here in this movie, for anybody who may have seen it or not, is that they made Tom and Jerry homeless. At least that's how they start the movie. And then that's kind of a premise that plays out in this movie, because they're trying to stay in this hotel where they're obviously not wanted. And that kind of, for whatever reason, got under my skin. I'm like, why the hell are Tom and Jerry homeless? They've always had a home. They were always in this house. What the hell are you doing with Tom and Jerry here and making it homeless? I understand the point and the storyline that they built here, but for whatever reason, that was kind of getting under my skin. And I'm like, okay, so here's a movie that, whatever, I could care less. We're just kind of watching it because it's something to watch. But, here I am, kind of getting a little mad here. And I even said it to my wife several times. Like, I just really annoyed by the fact that they're homeless. Like, what are they doing? And I was thinking, some other horror movies that we're talking about during remakes and reboots or whatever, about being annoyed at certain things. So then, long and hold, we come up to Coming to America. Now, this one I was a little more excited to see. I remember watching the original. Definitely one of my favorite Eddie Murphy movies of all time. Seen it a million times. And here's the sequel. I don't know that we really needed it. Whatever, kind of like we say with some of the other horror movies. Do we need it? Probably not. It's probably all about money. It is here. A marketing ploy for Amazon. And obviously a lot of money was behind it, because when you're paying Eddie Murphy and Leslie Jones and Morgan Freeman, I mean, these are people that are going to command money. Maybe not Arsenio Hall. I mean, he's probably lucky to get a paycheck here, but you have this big production here and so forth. So why not explore this a little bit. And I know, kind of thinking back to the original here, is one of the best lines is the royal penis is clean. It's something that we always, as guys, wanted somebody to say. It would have been nice to say the royal penis is clean. Yes, that would have been a great experience. And they even stick that in the movie here. So they do have some moments in part two that are very drawn to the original. They bring back several characters. There's a lot of characters that come back, and this is obviously, for you who don't know, it's about 30 years later. But Eddie and his wife that he married in the end of the first one are in their back home in the kingdom. And it's a similar storyline, though, that his heir to the throne needs to marry again, and it comes a little more complicated. But here we have a sequel, and basically I'm going to draw some similarities here to what we talk about some remakes or reboots and so forth. Is again, they bring back some characters, and we've seen that before, and storylines they bring back as well, but then have some new stuff. And one of the new things they do is definitely make a point of women empowerment here in this movie. Being a queen here, being a queen in this kingdom, in her place, and then he has 3 daughters in the movie, so they certainly are trying to make a statement with that. So overall, I know you're not here for the commentary on whether Coming to America 2 is good or not. I saw some people that I respect and that are kind of friends and so forth not like the movie. I liked it. I thought it was okay. But again, here, as much as I like getting movies, I know where this one stands, and I really didn't find myself getting mad at it. I thought it was okay. I thought it was funny at times. I thought it had boring moments and so forth. But then I was kind of thinking about it more when I was thinking about, should I talk about this here or not? And I kind of likened it to Halloween, the most recent Halloween that we have here. Some people want to call it a remake, a reboot, or whatever, or a sequel. We're not sure. But here it is 40 years later. And Coming to America is 30 years later. Here you're bringing back, Eddie Murphy for Coming to America. There you're bringing back Jamie Lee. You're bringing back the main characters. You're bringing back other characters, obviously Michael Myers and so forth. Obviously, you got Arsenio Hall and some of the other cast, and obviously Eddie and Arsenio play many of the characters in the movie, so they're automatically there as well. So I'm kind of drawing some parallels there. But then, kind of what do they do in this Halloween movie? Where's the angle that they're taking this besides for bringing Michael back? Well, if you watch the movie all the way through, and I'm going to assume most of you have, it's very women empowerment here. You have obviously Laurie is, I'm going to make a stand against Michael, and it's now or never. And then she has 2 family members who are also women kind of stand with her in a different way, have that women empowerment moment, and take on Michael here. And here in Coming to America, we have an empowerment movie here. I'm not going to go into the details because I know most of you don't really care about the details there. But it's just a way to see 2 different franchises, 2 different genres kind of use a similar theme in their reboots or sequel, long-awaited sequels or whatever. You can even expand it a little further. We know another Halloween Kills is going to come out later this year, hopefully. And we see them bringing back a lot of the people from the previous movies of Halloween and that are going to be in this movie. So again, here you go, drawing the parallel, bringing people back. So it's just to say that, while we get mad at horror remakes, maybe there are people out there getting mad at these kind of movies for the same reason. I mean, they're very, very similar here. Maybe some people, I know a lot of people enjoyed the latest Halloween movie, loved having Michael Myers on the scene. And I don't remember if we ever really talked about the remake or whatever version of Halloween and so forth. But you kind of see the similarities of Hollywood, I guess you want to say it, and the comparisons and how they redo these movies. And it goes along all the genres here. So whether you're tired of horror remakes, or maybe you're tired of comedy remakes or sequels or whatever, this is just a different way of looking at it, and to be aware that it's not just happening here in horror, it's happening in other genres as well. So that's just kind of my take, different angle, different spin on things, and just some thoughts that kind of came about by thinking about this segment and thinking about watching those movies and kind of how I feel versus horror remakes versus other remakes and sequels of other genres. So I'll throw it to any of you guys if you guys have some thoughts on any of these movies, any of the topics, or so forth.
I'll jump in first real quick. Coming to America, I haven't watched it yet, but I agree with you. It's one of my favorite Eddie Murphy movies, if not comedies overall. And moving to New York from the West Coast, and you get all these stereotypes as you watch Coming to America, and it was funny because some of it was true. Um, but I haven't watched it yet. I haven't been excited because it's obviously social media. They just have to. Everybody just throws out their opinions right away, and it kind of detours you from watching it right away. And I was really looking forward to it. I do know that there's a lot of celebrities in there, so that's kind of I'll get a quiet time to do it. I know we all got hit with a lot of horror movies to watch this week, so I got to find time to do that. But I am just can't reiterate it enough. I'm just not a big fan. Like I'm not looking forward to Halloween Kills. I didn't watch the last one prior. I don't know why. I just can't bring myself to watching it. I just feel like it's been done so many times. Like how many Halloween films do we need? It's kind of the same shit. Like kill the fucker already, man. He's like just kill him. But I just don't understand it. So I'm just wishy-washy on. I would take a good recommendation, like from you guys, like, oh, you got to watch it. It's worth watching. I just want to be wowed with a remake, and I keep pounding the table for something like that hasn't been remade at all, or maybe like a sequel, like Big Trouble in Little China. If they can figure something like that out, I'm in. And that comes up a lot on our show because it's one of our favorite movies, at least for Muse and I. The Lost Boys, if they did like something like that wasn't kind of like low budget, I would watch that. The Exorcist one, I'm not too big on. I'm gonna watch it because I love the franchise, but I don't know. I mean, how many times can you do Psycho, or even Jaws? They're gonna screw that up. And you brought up another good point. Are they making these remakes to appease modern day viewers and what they want to see, the woman empowerment, which I'm all for, but do it for the right reasons though. Like what was the one, Ready or Not, right? That was just a badass movie, and Samara was awesome in it. There was no like message. She was just in there kicking ass. So, but then you got to put this big celebrity in. I don't know. So there's that fine line there. Like, what are you trying to do here? And that's why I love the indie films. Kind of just do what they want to do. Anyway, I'm going off topic. I'm going to pass it over to Chris. I know he had something.
Yeah, two movies come to mind. My bias is always against these remakes, even if they're trying to say different things. Although a couple of times I've been caught off guard and had to sort of eat crow. I will say, at the risk of offending all of my John Wayne fans, that the remake for True Grit was a wonderful movie. And there's even some stuff in the remake that I thought was better than the original. Now, I won't go so far as to say it's a better movie than the John Wayne movie, because that would be heresy and I'd be burned at the stake. But if you get into horror movie, and you mentioned the evolving themes, and maybe the theme of the movie that comes out 20, 30, 40 years later, you have a more stronger woman empowerment. Now, this is kind of a weird one, but I Spit on Your Grave, because it was originally slammed by the Siskel and Eberts of their time is exploitation, women being slaughtered, male-dominated misogynistic movie. And then 10, 15, 20 years later, the discussion changes and says, no, it's a very feminist-oriented movie. And the commentators were now saying that this 1979, 78 film with Camille Keaton was a great feminist anthem. And nobody even mentioned the fact that a few days ago they were saying it was a misogynistic piece of garbage. And so it's kind of weird. Sarah Butler does the remake, and I think does a wonderful job. Slightly different movie, and maybe the same discussion can be had about both. So I think both I Spit on Your Graves are terrific, and I don't think the discussion is done on them yet. So those are the two thoughts that come to mind.
I wanted to chime in on the Halloween Kills thing for a second. I mean, I think that I had my microphone on mute, and right when Ken said, "We just kill the fucker already," my husband was dying, so I got in there. He was just done after that. But I think it's just Halloween Kills. I just don't think they can make enough of them. I'm like, I make 20 more. I'm gonna watch them all. I just want to see people get slaughtered. I just
You know
want
what?
to
You need to
see.
go to sleep. Just go to sleep.
I like the gore, and it's just, I guess it just all depends on what you like and what you're into. We all got stuff that we like and stuff that we're maybe not so hip on or whatever. We don't always get the hype on. But I'm one of those fans. You're gonna keep making them, and I'm gonna keep watching them. And I think HorrO agrees with me on this one. I don't think I'm completely alone on this. I know Ken's like boo, but
I mean, some remakes I like. I mean, how many Halloween movies are there?
I kind of feel like these are like more of sequels in a lot of ways. So it gets a pass from me because I'm not really, especially with Halloween Kills. I mean, they're, and it's hard for me to say that because they're canceling out my favorite horror movie of all time, which is Halloween 2, and kind of starting from the 78. So that kind of, I was going into Halloween, from 2018 a little bit apprehensively because they did that, because I liked the angle of Laurie and Michael being brother and sister, but I understand that it was scarier when he didn't have a motive. I get that, and so it got a pass, but it kind of felt like more like a sequel than a remake. I couldn't have done a remake. I don't think I would have dug that as much. But yeah, I mean, like, I'm in for, like, Coming to America too. I loved Coming to America, the original. Absolutely loved it. I'm with you guys on that. I kind of felt like they almost waited too long to do this one. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but it's still something that I aim to watch. It kind of feels like maybe they should have did this about 15 years ago or so. Something like that might have been maybe a little bit. I don't know. I still think it's going to be good, and it's going to have its moments. I mean, obviously, it's not going to be as good as the original. But I think it's going to have its moments, and I love the cast. I love that a lot of people are returning and stuff like that. So that's always a plus. And, so, I mean, it just, I'm all in. They were talking about in the chat about a Jack Burton TV series. I'm all in for that. It would be, Kurt Russell is Jack Burton. So then again, you have like the whole, who's going to be Jack Burton here? I mean, and that's a hard cast because he just nailed it so well. Like Ash, Bruce Campbell is Ash. You start running into those issues, and that can be problematic. So if it didn't get cast right, I think it could be a train wreck. But I mean, like Ken said in the chat, I'm in for it. I would try it out, and it's either going to go really right or really wrong. So some of these kind of like retreads and stuff like that, movies that kind of venture back into really popular, familiar territory, can work. But I think if they cast it right, a Jack Burton, Big Trouble in Little China TV series could work. There's so many directions they could go with it. So that's just my 2 cents on all of that. So I'll hand it back to
Yeah.
HorrO.
Yeah, I mean, lots of interesting points here, and I guess we could do different shows about a lot of these different things. I Spit on Your Grave definitely needs the whole show. We can take that on different angles. The whole Halloween thing, is very confusing. When they first came out, is it a remake, whatever, reboot? No, it's a long way for a sequel, but we're going to ignore all these other parts, and then that kind of confuses people. It's like, well, what do we think about all these other movies now? But yeah, at the end of the day, I'm kind of with you, Muse. Throw Michael up there, throw a house full of people, and let's just kill them all, and I'm satisfied. Like we're trying to get too complicated here, and it has to be Laurie and whatever. I understand the heritage there and the history and so forth, but there are some other ones where it was just let's just have it her son or whatever, blah blah, let's just throw them there, just like kind of Friday the 13th, just throw a bunch of campers out there, throw Jason, find new ways for him to kill, and that's it. I mean, we threw Jason in space and Leprechaun in space, and these people all just don't make it so complicated. Just do it. Just realize that slashers can be a little bit more simple than trying to be so complicated with things. And just one other thing is that there is nothing wrong with the women empowerment. It is a theme of our times where we're living now and so forth. But yeah, like Ken said, you can do it kind of more naturally. Just have a strong female lead and go with it. You don't need to kind of make it so much of a point, or people get the message. And I think for those who are listening, just real quick, a movie that just came out on Shudder called Lucky. It's a very man versus woman thing here. And if you're a man, maybe you're seeing it in one way. And if you're a woman, you're seeing this movie another way. And I actually had to read a few reviews and so forth to kind of get the gist of what was going on in this movie. So I think definitely where you are from and what you're looking at is definitely going to have an opinion on the overall movie. And that's another thing that we can discuss another time. But there's nothing wrong with throwing the empowerment of women into these movies, but it's just becoming such an obvious thing. Just don't make it so obvious. do it more naturally, and it just works better in the overall film. So with that, we'll go through some news real quickly. And I'm talking about horror history here. Ed Gein, they're giving Ed Gein, The Real Psycho. It's a special on coming April 9th to Discovery Plus. Another look at him, and he obviously plays a role in a lot of the slashers that we see these days. So if you're interested in him and another angle at that, they're coming out, and they've done a real good job with some of these sort of documentaries, whatever you want to call them. Hunter x Hunter. I think Mike on the chat mentioned it earlier. Hunter x Hunter is coming to Blu-ray in June. If you want a movie with a shocking ending, I definitely suggest you see this movie. Kind of like the movie that Chris and I saw, Ravage, has a great shocking ending. This one definitely builds to a great ending as well. The Unholy will be in theaters April 2nd. This is produced by Sam Raimi and starring one of our favorites, Jeffrey Dean Morgan. So be on the lookout for that. Something that was stopped because of coronavirus, but is now looking to get back in production, is the Chucky TV series. They've recasted some people here, or just added to the cast, and Devon Saw, who was also in Hunter x Hunter, Zachary Arthur, are part of the cast. As long we know Brad is doing the voice for Chucky again, which is good, and obviously Jennifer is back doing some work as Tiffany. And Quiet Place 2. I know a couple of months ago we mentioned that was moved to September, but now it'll be coming out in May. So that is good news. You don't have to wait much longer for that one. Definitely a movie I'm dying to see. Halloween Horror Nights news, maybe for me, maybe for not. Halloween Horror Nights will return. Last year they postponed it because of coronavirus and so forth. It will return for year 30, September 3rd through October 31st, and they've announced their first house, which will be themed Beetlejuice, which sounds pretty cool. Don't know whether I'll be attending or not. We'll see what happens with coronavirus and so forth. As always, I like to give in some Shudder news because they have some really great things. They announced their halfway to Halloween month for April. Creepshow will return, a new season of that. New season of The Last Drive-In for your mutant family friends. Joe Bob, of course. Something I've yet to be able to see, and that's Peninsula, which is the sequel. I was talking about sequels to Train to Busan. That will be coming to Shudder, so hopefully now we can all see it. A few people have gotten to see it so far. And a great documentary, In Search of Darkness Part 2, which again is this 4 hours all about 80s horror, terrific documentary. You're definitely going to want to sit through that, along with some plenty more great titles and some old stuff as well, the usual Shudder stuff. And I'll be recommending a movie as always, and it's going to be a Shudder movie, and that is Slacks, which will come out next week. Yes, Killer Jeans. That's basically what it is. I just watched it today. Fun, and I enjoyed it. And talk about a movie with a message. We talk about messaging a movie. Surprisingly enough, this movie does have a message. I was shocked to see that. But definitely check that out. And I'm gonna have another recommendation coming soon. I can't talk about it yet, but of a movie that's more on a more creepy movie, and I really enjoyed it. I just can't really say much about it yet, but I'll be coming with that recommendation soon.
Awesome segment as always. Lots to take in, but yeah, I think I like that when we all have like a difference of an opinion, and we kind of talk about it. And bottom line, we just like talking horror movies. Anyway, speaking of talking horror movies, we're gonna throw it on over to Chris to give us our review of our featured movie for the night. Go ahead, Chris, take it away.
Yeah, this is a fun one, and I get the sense that we all really, really like vampires, and we got a fun one that's a vampire movie, which is a double blessing. And you're going to hear an interview in just a couple minutes of the director, the star, the makeup artist, the wardrobe guy, the best script. He does he's in the credits 8 times. Ryan Grimley. Ryan, he's got 3 names. Barton Grimley. You're going to hear our interview of him in a second. And I had to tell him that this is kind of a neat movie because what you're going to get from him is this is a country that needs to laugh right now. There's no reason why we can't be laughing. And he makes a movie tapping into that. And I think he's absolutely right. I don't think there's a few of us out there that just want to laugh. I think there are tens of millions, maybe hundreds of millions in this country that are just ready to laugh. They don't want anybody to say, oh, you should laugh at that, or you might be offending somebody. They don't care. They just want to laugh. They're ready to laugh. They don't care how inappropriate it is. They don't care how juvenile it is. They don't care how silly it is. And Ryan makes a movie, Hawk and Rev, Vampire Slayers, and gives it to us today. And it is think about this. Think about it as a poor man's Van Helsing. You guys remember Van Helsing? Big budget, CGI, spectacular. The beautiful people were in it. Hugh Jackman for you gals, Kate Beckinsale for you guys. Neither one of them would be caught dead on the show. Ryan came on the show. And where Van Helsing is for the wine and brie crowd, they have caviar and the you-know-what don't stink. This movie that Ryan gives us is for the Pabst Blue Ribbon crowd. This is for the people whose elected officials don't listen to them. These are the people that are holding down a job or two or three. These are the people that don't have time to get on their fax machines or emails and email politicians and presidents because they're putting their kids to bed or helping them with the homework. This is for the real people. And you're going to see that in this movie. There are going to be people in this movie that that you see on the way to work, people that life's lottery hasn't blessed over the years, shall we say. These are the so-called losers. And the two main protagonists, or the two main apparently losers, are this guy Rev. He's a hippie wastoid, should have been in the 60s. But Rev is played by Ari Schneider. You've seen him in a lot of stuff. He plays this Tai Chi guy who alone is probably incapable of doing anything in life. Matched up with Ryan, who plays Hawk. Hawk is I guess you could say he's a veteran of the armed forces. His armed forces career didn't go well. Early on, he found a vampire in the barracks and stuck a 2x4 through his heart. Of course, he's sent to Leavenworth because the army doesn't believe in vampires. They're like that, They believe in weapons of mass destruction in far-off lands that don't have any hiding places. But vampires, no vampires. So they send him to Leavenworth, where he spends most of his career. I think he leaves on a dishonorable discharge. He's lucky to get a job, living in a tent in his parents' backyard. Parents are ready to throw him out. Total loser. You match him up with the loser Rev, but together they ain't losers. And there is a theme of this movie. You're not losers once you become more inclusive. Once you embrace the people around you, you can become a winner. And that's what happens here. It's kind of a nice theme, and maybe a theme we need to be looking at. But I'll stop with the politics and the sermons and the whatever. Nobody wants to hear that. Let's talk blood, guts, gore, sex, and premarital sex, which we're going to have here, which is good because ultimately that's a winning combination. So all of you that drink Pabst Blue Ribbon as opposed to a Chardonnay from Northern California, listen up because this is your movie. These two unlikely friends are friends, and they rag each other, and they've got a bit of a problem because apparently coming to town is a mini horde of vampires, and people start dying. At night, people start getting totally ripped up by these. You'll see it, the gore. You'll see it. And Hawk is a self-proclaimed vampire hunter. And like Ken said, these people are out there. And hopefully they're not beating up the goth crowd because there are some people that identify as vampires, which could get kind of confusing because I don't think they realize there are some other people who identify themselves as vampire hunters. So be careful out there. I know we have a lot of goth listeners. I just want to make sure you get home safe. And so now, as usual, Hawk has trouble convincing people that there are vampires out there. Imagine that. He's got a buddy in the sheriff's department who stopped taking his calls. He's got Rev, who wants to appease him. But Rev, vampires, come on. And Hawk is on medication, probably psych meds. He's got a history of being put in military mental asylums in Leavenworth. There's no reason to believe him, but we, the viewer, we know we believe him because we see these attacks. And so what else is Rev going to do? It's his only friend. He's sort of appeasing, yeah, I'll help you out. And so Hawk is on it. Now we need a female lead. Kate Beckinsale wasn't available for this movie. So we've got Jenna Savage in this movie, the nubile babe who will eventually join the team. She is a bored clerk at a religious supply store, and while selling the two hunters holy water, she sort of muscles in on them and joins it because of a term paper she's writing for her online college course. So she's in it. And another guy who's in it is Hawk's cellmate from Leavenworth, complete right-wing psycho who does not belong mixing with the general public. Total psycho. He goes by Jasper. Richard Gaylor plays him wonderfully. And there's a little bit of twist in his character, so I'm not going to talk about him too much because to do that would be to get into a twist, and I don't want to do that. As luck would have it, our security guard, Hawk, the vampires almost fall right in his lap. He's a manager or security guard at a moving and storage warehouse place, and the vampire, complete with the license plate. I think the license plate is a California license plate that says darkness or something like that. Well, you look at them and they are vampires. There's no doubt about it. Or is there? Don't want to go into the twist, but take my word for it. You're going to see vampires. Not only are you going to see vampires, but you're going to see a one heck of a gory ending, which a lot of people might find offensive. The S&M community might lodge a complaint because of insensitivity of the filmmakers to their community. It's hilarious. We don't see enough of the S&M community in movies. We need to see more. And the S&M community has got to lighten up a little. Someday I'll tell you about the S&M role players I had to interview once as an FBI agent on a kidnapping case. Can you imagine that? You put people on leash, you tie them up, you tie them to the wall, you whip them, and one person says, "You've kidnapped me," and calls the cops. What do you do as a cop? Do you go over there? Well, we can get into that story a lot later, maybe even after we're off the air, which is probably more appropriate. But back to Hawk. Again, this is a horror movie. This is a horror comedy. There's blood. There's stakes. There's limbs being ripped off. There's blood spurting, more blood that's actually in the human body. And there's an overarching, ominous, evil plan by the vampires, which make Hawk's mission, and eventually Hawk and Rev's mission, very, very, very important. If you, the common man, want to see a movie aimed at you with people people you sit next to on the bus, people you stand in front of line at Costco, this is your movie. And Ryan Barton Grimley does a wonderful job of making sure every character, every minor character is somebody you can absolutely identify with, is somebody in your life. And so Hawk and Rev, Vampire Slayers, it's for you. It's an anthem for the common man. And if you're so sick of those Hollywood elite A-listers making movies that really don't connect with you, this is your movie. And Hawk and Rev, Vampire Slayers. See it. It's going to be out real soon. Look for it. I think it's going to be on just about every streaming service.
I like the comparison, with Pabst Blue Ribbon versus the Chardonnay or whatever you said. But yes, definitely out there. I liked it. I thought it was a lot of fun. I was laughing a lot of great lines in there. You can't go into this movie thinking you're going to watch a serious vampire hunting movie. It's all fun and games. Anyway, let's jump right into our interview. We'll be right back, everybody.